just joined.
Hi, this is Laura.
Hello? Okay,
Hello.
great. Okay, great. We've got 8, so we have a quorum then, correct?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
Now we can start.
Then my name is Mary Jo Matusik, and I will call the RAILS board meeting of 3:25 at 10:30 a.m. to order. Emily, will you call roll call, please?
Sarah Armstrong. Dave Barry.
Here.
Karen Hershey.
Karen is here. She's not in the room right at the moment, though.
Thank you.
She's putting Christina Motti right now.
Judy Crocker. Kate Hall.
Here.
Nan Hilliard. Lisa Kanashak. Mary Jo Matusik.
Here.
Paul Mills.
Here.
Kathy Parker.
I am here.
Carrie Pearson. Laura Turner.
Here on the phone.
Dane Ward.
Here.
Lori Wilcox.
Oh, Damon's on it.
Oh, there's Karen. All right. We'll start with recognition of guests. Let's start in Burr Ridge.
Jim Krieger.
Rhonda Ditchforth Rails.
Ryan Hebel, Rails.
Emily Feister, Rails.
Mark Hatch, Rails.
Barb Brooks, Rails.
Say your name.
Oh, sorry.
Rose Chenoweth, Rails.
Debbie Maskey, Rails.
Mary Witt Rails.
Ann Slaughter, Rails.
Bolingbrook.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Louise Savela, Rails.
No one in Cold Valley. East Peoria.
Kendall Orison, Rails.
No one in Rockford, Illinois State Library.
Hey everybody, this is Ann Craig and
Lauren Tucker.
Deborah Eggert.
Pat Bose. Vandella Brown.
Jamie Mott.
Pat Burr.
All right, great. Just so everyone knows, Dee is homesick with 103 temperature. The flu. Was told by the doctor to stay home. I told her also to stay home.
Mark Hatch.
And Dr. Hatch here did kick her out of the building yesterday morning. Thank you.
That's sorted out. You prefer not.
I liked hearing it better. She was kicked out and told to go home. That was a good job. Jane had already planned to be off. So Dave and I decided that she should stay off yesterday when we talked to her. So we're going to move down to the adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second for adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. All right. May I have a motion for approval of minutes of the February 26th, 2016 Rails Board? Did I miss them?
I was going to just say, we did do, I know, the recognition of guests and announcements, but we didn't ask about public comments, and I know we normally don't have.
Yeah.
But since we actually have someone
Yes.
here, I just wanted to make sure that we did not skip.
Thank you,
over it.
Kate. All right. So, is there anything you would like to say, Jerry? Come on up here. Come on up here if you do. Please.
I want to thank Ms. Parker for extending an invitation to me to come to the RAILS meeting today. I'm here to make observation to see how RAIL board operate. Hopefully I can I have already picked up networking with other members here that came today, and I look forward to growing with you as a trustee of the Harvey Public Library District. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kate. Keep me on task here. All right. So we need an approval of the RAILS board minutes, financial reports and expenditures from the February 26th.
Just the minutes.
Yes, the minutes first. Sorry.
So moved.
All right. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Sorry. Okay. Motion approved. All right, Jim, you're up.
Okay, the RAILS financial report for the month of February is in your package. New to this report is that we presented the current month and year-to-date expenditures compared to the revised 2016 budget, which was approved by the board at last month's meeting. So a different basis of comparison. At the end of February, our unassigned general fund cash and investment balances would fund approximately 13.9 months of operations, which is a decline of half a month from the last month's estimate. And the assigned amounts of $6.4 million, if we were to need those for operations, would fund an additional 8 months. So we're still at almost 22 months. We have not yet received our APC payment of $5.9 million that's been allocated to us, and so we're watching for that. In February, we did receive the grant payment for the market quality program, which is $35,080. What else do we have? On the second page is presented an overall comparison of our three funds that have expenditures to the budget. It's slightly over. All the major variances within the general fund should work themselves out. Much of it is timing, but the way that the budget is set up to allocate proportionately throughout the year. I might note on the capital expenditures, there is a possibility the budget is assuming no additional expenditures, but we may have to purchase some additional vehicles in conjunction with the awarding of the delivery contract, as Mark's going to need those for the shuttle runs. So we could have additional expenditures there. Other than that, could I answer any questions? Anything noted?
Jim,
Yes.
you have a comment in your blurb that regarding the retroactive raises, those have not gone into effect yet. It'll be reflective of the next month numbers.
That'll be in March numbers.
Okay.
That was in today's paycheck.
Okay, all right,
Retroactive.
great.
I have a question about that. This is Ann.
Yes.
Could the raises be in effect if you're still operating under the fiscal 15 plan of service, though?
What we did when we approved our plan of service last month, our revised plan of service and our budget, the board felt that we needed to move forward, and so therefore we as the board decided to go ahead and pay those
Out of the reserves.
out of the reserves.
Okay.
Any oth-
But you're still operating under the fiscal 15 plan of service, right?
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Technically,
Technically, yes. The board felt that because we do have the money in the reserves, that we could go ahead and do this.
I see. The fiscal 16 plan has not been approved as yet. It's not even been submitted to my knowledge.
It was submitted
just-
on Monday, I
just submitted-
believe.
This week, I'm sorry. But the raises have already gone into effect?
Yes.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim?
financial shape. I love it.
Yes. Okay. If there's no other questions for Jim, may I have a motion for the approval of the RAILS financial report for February 2016?
So moved. Second.
All right. Thank you, Paul and Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion carried. All right. Dave, back down to Jim for approval of expenditures for February 2016.
Yes, at the end of the report is a listing of our February expenditures, which totaled $736,390.34. Any questions? Okay.
Laura, you're still with us, right?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Yep.
I move that
I have
we
one
approve the-
question.
Oh, sorry, Karen.
Yes, Karen.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just have a question about the 8,176 electric to Dynergy. Now, is that the heating cost of the Burr Ridge building for 1 month?
That's the Burr Ridge electrical.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Burr Ridge.
For the heating? Okay.
Well, it's the total
I know we've
electrical,
talked about
which-
this in the past, but I just
which
keep
includes-
asking that question.
Yeah.
It's the total heating and electricity.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you just heard that part.
Our building is entirely electrical powered, so.
I move that we approve the expenditures from February 2016.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
That has to be a roll.
Roll call vote. Yes, please. Thank you.
Dave Barry,
Yes.
Karen Hershey,
No, on the premise that I don't think we had the authority to spend the salary at this point.
Okay.
Kate Hall,
Yes.
Lisa Kanashak,
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek,
Yes.
Paul Mills,
Yes.
Kathy Parker,
Yes.
Laura Turner,
Yes.
Dane Ward,
No.
Okay. Motion carried. All right. Down to reports. I attended the member update yesterday in Vernon area, and I know that Kathy will tell us more about that in a little bit. Okay, so we'll move down to committee reports. Paul.
The consortium committee has not met, Madam President, since our last meeting.
Okay. Has the future subcommittee met, Kate?
We will be meeting on Monday.
Okay, I knew there was one of the consortium meetings was coming up. Just couldn't remember. Delivery committee?
Did meet on March 14th. The probably biggest item on the table was the proposal that was accepted for RAILS doing the ILDS delivery service, which is on the agenda, so I won't go into that too much, but we were all very excited to hear about that, and had a very robust discussion as well concerning kind of where we were at in terms of some of the changes that have been made to delivery and what needs to happen moving forward. We also are going to be, unfortunately, losing a couple committee members as Karen and Carrie are both going off of the board. So we talked about also if what that would mean in terms of the committee. I mean, obviously we'll continue going forward, but just that there will be a transition because we have had a very solid group and we've done a lot. So making sure that when that transition happens that we have good information to pass along to people. And then we talked just a little bit about our community development partnerships and kind of just where we were at with that, and but that was about it. And then we'll be meeting again after July, so that we can
The new board member.
yeah, we may have an update depending on some of the ILDS stuff in May, but otherwise we'll meet in the new fiscal year.
Okay. Executive committee has not met. Policy, Dave?
We didn't meet today since Dave wasn't here, so we tabled it to next month.
Mm-hmm.
Question, are we tabling the policies then as well
Yes.
on the agenda?
Yes, we're gonna table the policies until next month. But if you have any questions about them, feel free to ask. We just won't make any decisions until next month. Membership standards, Kathy.
As Mary Jo said, the member update yesterday consisted mostly of discussing the standards with an open forum for our members. And I was there for the first hour and then I had to leave. So if Veranda or Emily or Mary or Debbie wants to bring anything that I'm missing. There was a lot of feedback, a lot of really good feedback about the work itself. Probably a lot of things maybe we hadn't thought of or maybe hadn't focused on more specifically. I'm now going through a lot of the comments just because I missed so much of it. And we will be meeting as a committee again, probably, I'm guessing, over the summer to try to talk about this a little more. And my assumption is we're going to have more meetings of this sort, correct?
That's
like
correct.
town hall meetings or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And opportunities, just opportunities
Right.
to give feedback.
Yeah, so, and I know we're putting stuff on the comment page, comments, people can make comments continuously on the RAILS website, so please feel free to go on the site and read everything and then make any comments as necessary.
And also, are we going to put updates with like clarification for
We're going to also
in there so
put,
that people can see?
The questions that were asked and responses that we've received via email and that were asked during the meeting to ensure that, because there were some great points of clarification around any proposed standards during.
Okay. And I forgot to mention earlier, I did also take them to the Illinois School Library Media Association board meeting a week ago Saturday. The one thing that they would like to see, if we can do it somehow, is that when we're in the 15 hours, if we can at all stress that it be a school library media person, a certified person in that role.
Not just an aide or a teacher.
Just not an aide or something, if we can somehow highlight that and.
So the administration knows that it's an important requirement.
Exactly. One school in particular is worried about when she retires in 2 years, who they're going to put in, and I know that's a big concern.
It's going on, I would imagine.
Yeah, for all schools, that there is a certified school librarian there.
Great, thank you for that.
And I have a couple other comments, but I'll find them and forward them to you.
Great.
How many people were in attendance?
We had, I think, 129 registered. No, we never know how.
Right,
many.
I mean, are actually, like, they could all be gathered around a computer watching the
Well,
stream.
actually, we had a huge amount of streamers this time.
Really?
Okay.
We had almost 50 that had signed up to participate by Zoom.
Wow.
Well, I'm just saying, having standards is important, obviously, because a lot of people have been paying attention to it, so, well, I think it's important. So, it's an interesting topic.
Mm-hmm. And there have been quite a bit of follow-up emails and with really good questions.
Good.
Very good questions. And feedback as well.
So that's it.
Okay, anything else about membership standards?
Does anyone have any questions about it?
All right.
I thought you were going to say
I emailed my comments.
yes. I deleted that.
All right. We will move down to the nominating committee. Mary, can you give us an update?
The nominating committee met this past Tuesday, March 22nd. And just in case you don't know, the nominating committee is Bill Coffey, who most of you remember used to be on our board. He's currently trustee at LaGrange Public Library. Nancy Dolan, who is the director at Quincy Public Library. Cindy First, who is the director at the Vernon Area Public Library. And John Sayers, who is pretty familiar to this board. He's at Kewanee. The committee basically talked about, we are currently having a call for nominations that ends on March 31st. So we talked about where we were with that. We're doing really good with the at-large candidates.
Good.
We have 9 candidates for 2 at-large seats so far. So that's great. We're real excited about that.
Love it.
We're not doing so good with the public library trustees as of yet, but sometimes people wait until the very end. We have 3 seats there. So far we have 2 candidates that we know we're going to have, but we've been making a lot of efforts to reach out, particularly to libraries in the northwest part of our
Rockford area,
system.
right?
Rockford, Galena, Moline, to ask them if they have, because we have no representation from those areas currently on the board. So we're really trying, if you know of any, public library trustees that you can send our way, please do that. And the nominations, it's next Thursday that they
Mary,
close.
maybe a suggestion to send something out through the ILA trustee forum.
Oh, that's a good idea. You can do that.
Or
Because
even just the ILA reporter, because a lot of my trustees are
yeah.
ILA members that may not get the Rails update, just saying.
Yeah.
We'll do both of those things. That's a good idea.
And I know I talked to Dee about this. Have we been able to communicate to possible candidates that they can attend in Rockford? They can attend virtually so that they know that those options are available.
Yes, and we're especially targeting trustees and libraries that are near our video conference locations for that area. But we're spreading it pretty wide with contacting libraries directly in the west area.
Didn't we add another one up by Rockford? Or no?
Yes, Sherry Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually a better location because Rockford is pretty small. Our Rockford Service Center is pretty small. So we did reach out to Cherry Valley. So
good.
So that's kind of where we are right now. The committee will meet after we get the nominations all together. We'll draft a ballot for the committee to review, and they'll review the nominations and actually prepare the ballot on April 20th as our next meeting.
Okay.
And then the actual election will take place from April 25th to May 13th. So at that time, if you all could spread the word about the election as well. Each library can appoint one person to vote. So we're hoping to get a good turnout in the election as well.
Like 1,300 or so?
That would be great, Kate. That would be great. Are there any other questions about it? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dee's report is in the board packet, as is the service and operations report. Are there any questions about the service and operations that the staff could answer?
If I had known that Dee wasn't going to be here, I would have tried to come up with some, but
You can thank me later for not telling her.
Out that it was very difficult, to come up with any questions because it was all there.
All right. Illinois State Library.
Hi, everybody. One of these days, we're going to come to you and say, we've got news about the budget. Well, this ain't that meeting. We absolutely do not have any information about the budget. I wish we did. There is nothing new to tell you. We do not have any information other than what you all have read, which is the stalemate grows ever deeper with the universities and colleges. I think are starting to really feel the very very desperate effects of all of this. It's very, very sad stuff here in Springfield. Some wonderful news. I don't know that you are all reading our e-news. If you're not and you missed it, our staff has been joined by Pat Berg, Patricia Berg. Pat? Right here. Pat Berg was the librarian at the Illinois State Museum. Some of you may remember Pat Berg from our State Library Advisory Committee in years gone by. And our governor closed the State Museum. Still can't believe that one. But our governor closed the State Museum, and one of the wonderful things that happened in our lives was we were able to bring Pat Berg here. She is wonderful. If you don't know her, I suggest you drop her a line or give her a call. She is just a lovely, lovely person and a great librarian. We've known her for many years and have worked with her on lots of committees and different projects. So she's part of our staff now in library development. So I'm sure you'll join with me in welcoming her. This is definitely a bright spot in our day, in our month, in our year. Yay, Pat. Yay, yay, yay. Also, although...
Thank you very, very much.
Yes. Yeah, I guess she can talk too.
I'm very glad to be here.
So, also, although she's not here to say so herself, Cindy Coletti announced her retirement. Although happy for Cindy, we are, of course, very bittersweet for us. And Cindy is ready to move on to a new chapter in her life. Cindy is our director of the Library Development Group. Learning the ropes from our dear Cindy is Deborah Aggert. Many of you know Debbie from her work with The Edge and Ask Away and Talking Book Service. So Debbie, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. A lot of you know me. If you don't, please introduce yourselves when you have the chance at whatever meetings we'll have, either virtual or in person.
So a few changes there on our horizon. So we're thrilled that Debbie has stepped up to take that place. So some changes here at the good old State Library. Also, wanted to let you know that finally, the lawyers, all lawyers have signed off on the Digital Public Library of America agreements. Yes! Yes! Yay. We have crossed the finish line. We have dotted the I's, crossed the T's. We are finally a Digital Public Library of America service hub. We have, I think, conducted the first trial harvest, well, not we, but the Carly folks have conducted a small trial harvest. So we should be moving that effort along now that we have all the legal ease and legal paperwork out of the way. So it only took 8 months, but hey, who's counting? So that is underway. We had a very, I don't know if any of you in the rooms, plural, participated in the Targeting Autism Forum that we had here on March 10th and 11th at the State Library. It was extremely successful. We did have the New York Times best-selling authors who wrote the book In a Different Key. They came and did a presentation. We had a crowd of over 100 librarians and autism service providers from all over, not only the U.S., but Canada as well. So we're waiting at this point in time to hear about whether we have received the IMLS Laura Bush grant that we applied for to continue this work for the next couple of years. So we all know how that goes. You wait and you see how those things work out. So we have a few things on the horizon. We have our State Library Advisory Committee coming up on April the 14th. That's a Thursday. I would encourage as many of you as possible to attend by phone or VTEL as you can. Of course, it's always an open meeting. We will have Amanda Trimmer from our budget office talking about as much as she knows, which, you know, who knows what that is about our budget. And we will also, for the last few meetings now, we've had Kip Kolkmeyer from the ILA. We've had him joining us to give the ILA lobbyist perspective, which I think rounds out the conversation very well. So we'll have him joining us as well. So I would definitely encourage you to join us if you can. Part of that discussion at ISLAC will be, we'll touch a little bit on what's happening with the Talking Book service. I know that we've had part of the RAILS board meeting has been, we've talked with you about the fact that after fiscal 16, we will no longer have the Talking Book service grants for the 3 library systems. This will be it for that grant. We have heard, at least tentatively, not formally, but we're pretty sure it's the final word from the Chicago library system as well as from Heartland that those 2 will be ceasing their Talking Book activities at the close of this fiscal year. So we will be absorbing that activity, or at least the National Library Service required activity, into the state library. So that's one of the things that we will be discussing at the ISLAC meeting. So I wanted to come back a little bit to the topic that you mentioned before, and I guess maybe we can come back to it later on in the discussion, but I guess I did understand that any changes to employee compensation would be coupled with an approval to the fiscal 16 plan of service. Now, I know that, you know, the Secretary's office may very well not have any issue with any compensation increase, but that all of that is wrapped up in the approval process. You know, not to be overly heavy-handed here, but it is part of the whole reason that we have the whole plan of service, and it gets approved and then you follow the plan. And so I'm just, when I read your minutes, in the minutes it looks like it's part of the plan of, it would be submitted as part of the revision to the plan of service for the 16 budget. So I guess I'm just a little confused, and maybe we can talk about this with Dee and Jim and whoever offline, but I just want to bring that back as something that I do think the state library and the system need to revisit, so.
Okay.
And perhaps it would also, because I mean, we were all here, and so maybe that was a little bit clearer, and maybe we do need to maybe revise how it is stated, because it was, we approved the plan of service separately and then had the discussion on that as a separate topic. But maybe, I mean, to me, because I was there, I was like, oh yeah, this is, so maybe that also needs to be part of the discussion and going back. I know we approved the minutes, but I mean, we certainly can look at revising those to better perhaps reflect as well.
Yes.
What were you going to say, Lauren?
Yeah, it's just that my recollection of the discussion was, it was my understanding that you were discussing if your 3% would be effective upon approval of your revised plan of service, or if the 3% would be retroactive to July 15th, effective upon the approval of the revised plan of service. That was my understanding of what your discussion was at that meeting. In either case, the 3%, either retroactive or effective upon approval, were not effective until you had received approval for the FY16 plan of service. Now, that's kind of what this write-up in your minutes says, but it is not the action that you explained that you have taken with your compensation. So, and it's, you know, as Ann said, we may very well be just fine and dandy with the retroactive payment, the 3%. It's more a question of, did you have the authority as a board without the approval of that in a plan to make that payment? And you know, it's kind of the horse is out of the barn, it appears. But that's the concern that I think Ann was trying to express. And going forward, I think we may have to, you know, and it's a discussion with Jim and Dee, that our concern is about you as a board having the authority to make those kind of payments outside of an approved plan of service.
Which doesn't technically exist.
Not for 16, yes.
So we can speak with Jim and Dee and Mary Jo or whoever offline and report on it at the next meeting if that's appropriate.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that we could have that. Kathy, did you have a comment?
I have a question because, of course, I don't have either plan in front of me, and I'm trying to find it, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to ask Jim because maybe he can remember since he's here. The revised plan of service, did the revisions that we, what do you remember what it said about the compensation of staff in general? Was that in the revised plan that we would not be?
The 3% increase was in the original plan of service, and
so
we left that in.
Okay.
What we did on salaries is we took out several positions that had been budgeted to be added.
Okay. So we didn't, we never changed that 3% from the original. So then when it was reviewed by the state library and sent back to us for revision, was there a specific comment that stated, please remove the 3%?
Well, there was never any real original review.
Communications
They just said,
back.
They
So it
just
wasn't
said
like it was asked
operate
to
under
remove.
our fiscal year
Okay,
15 plan,
Well,
which
Nope.
Which also had a 3% increase for that year also.
That was my question, Jim.
That's
What
what I'm
did the
trying to
FY15 plan have as a percentage increase?
It
That
had a
was
3% also.
Okay.
So
Well,
we were,
before
because my assumption-
before that train goes off the tracks, guys, there's no, judgment about whether an increase is or is not appropriate. It's all about the authority for the increase, okay? That's not, we're not saying, it's appropriate, it's not appropriate. That's not what this is about. It's whether you've got the authority to pay it, okay? So don't want to go there, okay?
No problem. When Dee gets back and Jane gets back, I would like Jane there too, and Jim and I will sit down and be happy to meet with you. We'll find a time to do it.
I do want to make sure that we have Mary Jo or or Dave, someone from the
Absolutely.
board, because I mean Jim and Dee were not the
Decision makers.
originators of this. This came from the board. I mean, I was the one who made the actual motion, and I think that it's important that we make that distinction and that the board has representation and to be included in on that discussion.
Absolutely.
Because I think we were going off of, from the previous year, we didn't seem to have any issues, and we want our staff to be, we appreciate all the hard work they're doing, and we wanted to just, do the best we can for them. So I think the intent was good.
Yes.
Just weren't sure.
This is a weird year, you guys, okay? This is just a weird year. This is just a bizarre year, every which way you look at it. So let's, it's just weird all over. So that's just the way it is.
And
Absolutely.
Before we conclude, I did want to mention one thing about the budget that is moving. It has legs. I'm not sure how long a life it has, but there is legislation moving through the General Assembly that would appropriate funding for higher education and for social service providers. And included in that is a line item that would also appropriate $12.5 million for the library system and the public library per capita grant programs. That's a GRF appropriation, which is in past years has always been part of our approved budget, but has not been appropriated so far for FY16. It has passed the Senate. It is now before the House. All the Republican members of the Senate who were there, opposed passage of the bill. The governor has indicated that he is not in support of the bill, but it is moving through the General Assembly, and will be before the House when they come back. So if you are in a position to speak with any of your House members, you might want to mention that piece of legislation, Senate Bill 2059, and that you and your organization would be in support of its passage as it is currently written.
Lauren, this is Paul. Who were the sponsors of that bill in the Senate?
John Cullerton. The Senate sponsor was John Cullerton. The House sponsor at the moment is Speaker Madigan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we have that bill number again, please?
Much better.
The number again.
Senate Bill 2059.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other information from the State Library, we'll move down to new business. We were going to talk about Dee's evaluation for executive director. We're going to defer that till April, but one thing I do want to say is that it is imperative that all board members fill out the form when we send it to you. She has given me her self-evaluation of goals, but it is important that we get all board members' input into her evaluation.
Do we know when that'll be sent out?
It will be sent out probably within the next couple of weeks.
For the next meeting.
Yeah, before the next meeting.
We don't want to delay it like we did last year.
Right.
And have all those
Wait, no,
hiccups.
who's the chair?
Dave and I will be sending it jointly.
Oh, so it'll get done.
So there's two of us on top of it, because we don't want it to get lost somewhere in
We
translation.
did lot last year.
Yeah.
Mary Jo, when will then the evaluation be due?
It will be due before the May meeting.
Before the meeting.
Also, while I'm on, I want to remind everybody to do their statement of economic of interest.
I have not received mine yet, so I cannot.
Okay.
Yes, nor have I.
Okay.
But Emily knows.
Okay, I just got mine the other day, so please make sure you get those done too. All right, we'll move down to the Illinois Library Delivery Service update. Mark.
Thank you, Mel. Appreciate it. All right. I don't have a lot of information to share, but I'll just give you a couple of bullet points on the service itself. A little background information. Back in December 2015, we actually submitted a proposal to the University of Illinois on the IODS book of business, which is 151 locations throughout the state. We actually had a really nice presentation where we actually were able to go back and present additional information to them and to their, I guess, their nominating committee or whatever committee it was, I can't remember now. And then on March the 3rd of this month, we were actually, March the 11th, March the 11th, right before the delivery committee meeting, we were actually notified that we were awarded the business. So that's very exciting. This will be a joint venture with Heartland, our sister company, along with CTS. CTS is currently our subcontractor that does the book of business for Wheeling and for Burr Ridge, and they just so happens to do a lot of the IODS business as well. So we're waiting on a contract from the university. Their procurement department will eventually send us the contract. It will be a 2-year contract with 3 one-year extension options. Hopefully we'll be able to do the entire 5 years. RAILS will then, we're actually starting to work on it now, creating a contract with Heartland and with CTS for the work that they will be providing for us. Majority of the locations of that 151, 67 of them will be done by CTS. They're actually doing the work now, so they'll just continue doing that work. 34 would be going to Heartland, and then RAILS would handle the remainder with our current service centers. We've actually already started the implementation of this. We've been meeting with Heartland and with CTS. I had a brief meeting with IODS as well, just to get the ball rolling. We've got a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it in, so we thought we would start sooner than later on getting this thing structured, because we have really no idea when the actual contract is going to be here.
But we're supposed to be live July 1.
It is supposed to be live July 1, so we want to move forward, with structuring processes now. Okay. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Mark, I do have a question. So, what's the funding trail for this? So, we're going to be receiving payment to run the service through which state organ?
You know what I think, and maybe the state library could tell me exactly where the funds are actually coming from.
The University of Illinois will have the agreement with RAILS. So RAILS and the University of Illinois will sign an agreement with each other. The state library then pays the University of Illinois. So the University of Illinois will pay RAILS. That's the funding trail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And does this funding come through the general fund, or do you have some discretion on that?
Well, who
Or
knows
what you
next
pay to
year?
the UI? Well, that's a good
Next
answer.
This year,
Yeah.
okay, this year it's technology. Next year, we don't have an appropriation for next year. This year, technology. So
Okay, thank you.
for fiscal 17, now it is possible to use LSTA or technology. This year, we use technology.
So Ann, I guess you're kind of answering my question, my follow-up question then. So the current contract holder for this service this year has received full funding then through your technology line?
That's correct. Well,
For this year, I understand that's this year, but okay.
we paid Carly, the University of Illinois, and then they pay Lanter.
Okay.
And so Carly this year did receive the full 100% funding for the service for this fiscal year that we're in.
It was late, and I believe they just got it. Like, we're talking, you know, what time is it? They just got it. But yes. But yeah, they received full funding because, as we all know, delivery is the priority for this office. So Carly is really the University of Illinois. So when RAILS has the agreement, it's going to be an agreement between RAILS and the University of Illinois.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. No other new business. We'll move down to unfinished business. If there's any questions about the policy, please let Mary Witt know, because we're going to defer that until the April meeting. Any questions about the vacation time policy or personal time or sick time, Barb will, please send those comments to Barb so that we can have that discussion. And we'll defer those until the April meeting also. The August board meeting, I believe there's possibly an issue with the date, with it being Labor Day weekend or something, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why Dee had that on here, but we will delay that discussion till April meeting also. Talking books, Rose, do you want to give us an update?
Just got through a bunch. And the staff line up on this side of the table. It's an extremely busy time with the transitions that are going to be going on with Chicago and are already going on with DuQuoin. DuQuoin and their efforts to move all their machines.
DuQuoin is Heartland, right?
Right.
Just so I'm making sure I'm clear in my
Sorry,
head.
we think of the two offices, and
Okay.
DuQuoin is the office we work out of. And that's IMSA, the Illinois Machine Sublending Agency. They are recalling 4,000 cassette machines, and they will be sent for recycling to NLS. Almost all the calls for those machines are coming into us. So the staff has been extremely overwhelmed with all these calls from all over the state, including Chicago, because we were the designated place to call for that type of thing. We're also, the state is doing a survey that they are required to do every other year, and we're getting a lot of calls and updates in the database and things like that. I've been talking to Debbie Taylor, the director at the Chicago Public Library Talking Book Center, on a regular basis, and we will be working closely with them on how things are affecting their staff and what's going on in Chicago and how that will possibly affect us. And I've had several conversations with Sharon Ruda. Now, one of the things I'd like to say on behalf of our patrons and on our staff, I think on behalf of Sharon Ruda, that we're really thankful that the board is so supportive of Talking Books. because with the closing of 2 centers, it's going to be an overwhelming transition, a lot to go through. And we'll be, we're the most active in outreach because we cover the whole state, and getting that word out next year will be a high priority for us, and talking to our patrons. And actually, probably the most of our work will be with our partners, because our partners are the ones that see a lot of our clients that work with our organization. So we'll be doing a lot of that, and also helping the state library absorb all the changes, because until we actually get into it, we don't even really know what a lot of those will be. So it's going to be an interesting time. My 5 years of talking books, it's been interesting all the way. Lots of changes all the time.
For sure.
And that counts at the federal level as well as the state level, and what we're going through now with the government. So there are a lot of changes going on, and does anybody have any questions?
I'm just wondering if there's anything that we as either trustees or else, trustees for RAILS, as well as either directors or trustees at area libraries can do to assist.
I'm talking a lot with our outreach associate because she's in Peoria and I'm here, and a lot with the staff here and talking about the people we need to talk to. Dealing with our clients is complicated at times. A lot of them can't read, so because of vision issues, obviously. They're capable of reading, I don't mean to imply that. But it's getting the word out to them in a way that it's going to be absorbed. Because we still have patrons calling us now asking about Geneva and Peoria offices, thinking they're still in existence.
Okay.
So when all the other service centers go away, it's going to be, they're going to feel lost. Now, they're likely to call the state library if they have somebody that can help them read what they're getting in. So that's why dealing with our partners, their doctors, vision centers, rehab facilities, nursing homes, and that type of thing is absolutely critical. We're going to be doing a lot through electronic transmissions if we can get the emails and people read them. We're working on something to go out to the libraries, and we'll be doing that more often to get that word out, because it's the first time it doesn't sink in. Because we did a mailing to all the libraries when we opened 3 years ago, and I would guess 75% of them never even opened the letter, because they're calling Peoria and they're thinking Geneva is still in existence. So I've heard people who work in public relations, Karen, when I worked with her in the Alliance Library System, I think she said something like it was, you had to tell people like 7 times, so many times before it sunk in.
Yes.
So it'll be in the electronic newsletter from the state library. It'll be in e-news. We'll be sending out things to all of our partners at various times and talking at events. Probably doing more exhibits at any conferences we know of. So if there's a group, one of the things I'd like to target is our networking groups around the system, as well as information to the various ones, so that as many people as possible can know. Because that's going to be, until you're faced with somebody who needs a service, you don't even think about it. So you don't register that things have changed. So it's...
And as soon as that need is apparent, it's usually, high
Right.
priority. And so being able to access it and get it out there, at least to sink in people's heads a little, so that they might be like, wait a minute.
I heard something about
I think
that.
there's something. And they, yeah.
The thing that will help this time, though, is that everybody, well, I may be overstating that. I assume everybody is aware that the state library is the regional and is the key place to call. And if not, we'll be getting that word out. Like when we started, we had a new name, we had a new location, so it wouldn't have come to their mind. Hopefully the state library, Illinois State Library Talking Book and Braille Service, it will stick in their mind. But it's still something we're going to have to push home.
Have you guys, and I'm thinking, there are a lot of librarians who don't go to conferences, who maybe aren't reading their it happens, and we all read it,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Look at the certification.
Exactly. So have you guys, and I don't know if you have, because I may not be paying as close attention, but maybe going out regionally and having meetings at libraries, kind of like how Swan had been doing they had been doing a, I don't know what it's called now. They would go out to libraries in the area and just have a tour, and would have people talk about talk about
Yeah,
what it was.
we could.
Because you could do, I mean, there's a lot of libraries, I think, that could host that where people maybe aren't able to come here, but they can certainly go to the local library or one of the larger libraries.
Right. There's a
in
lot
their
of
area.
networking groups that are out there.
That's what everything started doing, I'm sure.
Debbie, who was not actually back there, but was a little bit.
It was, bro.
I was just gonna say my name, I guess.
She's my imaginary friend. She does networking group meetings around the state as well as Dee and Mary Witt and that type of thing. And as it gets a little later, I hate to start it too quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like definitely not before the new fiscal year starts.
Yeah.
Go to meetings with them and just make a point of talking to people, and letting them know. The ones I'm the most concerned about knowing are the small rural libraries that don't attend anything.
Right.
And, I mean, but they do usually attend their LSAT meetings, like, I mean.
Some of them do, some of them
Well,
don't.
I mean, like, Kendall is still here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, hey, Kendall.
And Kendall will help. Kendall's
and I
really
know,
good about getting the word out.
Yeah, and so.
I think there's a lot of avenues out there.
Yeah, there
and,
is.
And, you just be just calling up, looking at the map and, looking to see what's the larger library of this group that possibly people can just come to and just have just a quick meeting, an hour and a half of talking about what you guys are doing and changes.
Yeah, and there's like, for example, I was with the Alliance Library System and I worked with libraries all over it. And there's going to be a meeting in Biggsville coming up somewhere soon. And that's in the middle of nowhere.
Biggsville.
Biggsville, it's not Warren, that's next door. Henderson County Public Library. And they're the only library in the entire county, and they're surrounded with very rural libraries that don't go to anything. So that would be a key one to go, even though it's early, because the likelihood of those libraries having somebody near them is remote of happening again. So yeah, we'll be looking at all those and looking at things that we haven't been looking at for a long time. Biggsville is teeny. I think they told me one time that there is one stoplight in the entire county.
It's on literally the corner of two streets that meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in a cornfield.
Rose, is there a presentation that's ever prepared for these services that someone could pick it up and take it to their community groups? Because I speak to a lot of.
It's on our website.
Is it? Okay, I need to look at that because I can do a presentation on that, not for other libraries, but for other people in my community who will.
That'd be great.
Who will make connections. I have a lot of healthcare people in my Rotary Club, and they're just.
I was thinking Rotary. That would be a good one too. Even if you gave something to us, and we could,
my clients should be.
Alliance would be all over this.
Yeah. Yeah, Alliance especially, because they take it on as their first thing.
Right.
But a lot of the other groups do fundraisers, they volunteer time. They would be really great. But we have a partner services tab that Beth Weimer has developed, and we have a PowerPoint that goes through our services.
Excellent. Thank you.
And we'll probably be adapting that as the year goes on
Well,
the
that's
contact.
thing, right? Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
So feel free. Would you like to have our cards or anything like that you could pass out?
Are they going to change? Any information on the card's going to change? I mean, no.
Not well. Our cards won't. Maybe we can ask Sharon Ruda for all kinds of cards.
Yeah.
We have links to their fact sheet, and we will be citing at some point, instead of handing out our pamphlets, we'll be handing out the State Library Talking Book and Braille Services fact sheets.
Okay.
Because it will have their contact information.
That would be helpful.
And at this point, there is one of their lines, I'm not sure what the number is, but people who call the state library are rolled over to us. But they think they're calling the state library, and getting them used to that will be one of the things that helps.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you. Let me know
All
if you
right.
have any questions?
Veranda, you're up. Certification update.
So there are 7 days left to certify. And no one here needs to run out of the room because you were all certified. I would let you in the building if you were. We've been working closely with the Illinois State Library, Chicago Public, and Heartland to ensure that all of our members get certified. Amanda, who is here and going to make sure I don't screw anything up in giving this report, is actually leading the team. And I want to thank Jody, Emily, and Margie, and of course Amanda, for all their work in calling and recalling again and emailing libraries. Just as a reminder to the board, though I'm sure most of you know this, there's although the Illinois traffic survey is a requirement of Illinois system members, this is the first year it was a requirement of the certification process. So having that additional process and to engage members in that has slowed us down a little bit. But I am happy to report that over 90% of our membership has completed both requirements, thanks to the hard work of our team.
That's a lot since last month.
Yeah, I know, they've worked really hard.
And that's higher than the report too now, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
well, it's every day is a winding road, as Cheryl Crow says. Let's see. I think we've also are working with any LSAPs, if they're members of LSAPs, to have their LSAP managers contact them again. And I just want to thank this board specifically for their commitment to ensuring that we get to all the libraries as possible, as many libraries as possible. So we have to recommend as few as possible for suspension. It was interesting as Ann Craig was introducing the new staff members at the state library, because I'm starting to think that having them engage in the certification process must be like how they train people, because they've already with Pat Berg and Deb Egger, they've been involved with reaching out to libraries and supporting our team in the certification process.
Put them right on the front lines.
I know, it's funny. I don't know how long Pat Berg has been there, but I've already seen a bunch of emails from her regarding follow-up with member libraries, so thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions?
So
do I need to say anything? Oh, thank you.
What are our actual numbers for each of the? Do we have the most current numbers for each of the categories?
Yeah.
You know them.
I got it. As of this morning, 67 libraries have not completed certification. 73 have not completed the Illinois traffic survey, and 41 of that total have not done either.
How many of those are school libraries? I hate to.
That is in
21? That's less than we've had some years.
I know, it's great. I'm really proud of the work that this team has done. I've only harassed a few people myself, like just honestly, just calling directors and saying, I am not going to get off this phone until you do this right now.
It only takes 2 minutes.
I'll tell you. I know,
Except for the
exactly.
survey.
And they were
The
new
survey takes
directors.
longer.
They were new directors, so just having them do it to just get it done.
Laura, are you still on the phone with us? Or did we lose her?
I heard a beep.
I heard a beep. That's why I was checking.
She's going to do it right now.
Yeah, she was.
She probably had to
All right.
take it.
So then,
Quorum?
hopefully.
But there's
2, 4,
Yes,
6.
because Lisa came in late.
Yes,
So yay,
Lisa's
Lisa
here. We
saved
still
the
have a
day.
quorum.
Thanks.
Save the day.
You did. So then obviously the goal is of course 100%, and it's.
Well, it won't be 100% because unfortunately there are a few libraries we are going to have to recommend for suspension,
And then
because of their libraries have closed or they don't meet the requirement.
But it's not because they didn't do the survey. It's just
Exactly.
because they told me to.
Exactly.
And so, but that'll be at next month's.
Yes, exactly.
Laura, are you back?
Yes, I'm here.
Somebody-
Sorry, my phone dropped the call, so I had to recall back in.
Okay, just confirming you're there. We did
Yep, I'm
notice.
here.
You were missed.
I just
Thank you.
want to say kudos to Amanda and Rhonda and
To the
everyone,
entire
'cause,
staff.
I mean, really, I mean, 1,300 people. It would be similar to us calling every time someone needed to renew their library card.
Yeah.
Is how I think of it, and
That's
that
true.
is just oh my gosh. So really, like,
They've done a
and
great
they're
job.
still smiling, which I think is also.
I won't tell you why that is. No. So no, they've done a great job. It's really, it's so funny because at least I know specifically for Amanda, I was talking to some folks in accounting. They're like, oh, they knew the spiel because they sat so close to her. And they're like, well, first you must have 15 hours a week and it must be, and I'm like, I don't know that. They're like, I sit across from Amanda. So the whole team has become educated.
Good, good. All right, we will move down, if there's nothing else about certification, to board development. Open Books Initiative, Veranda?
Right on. So is anybody already familiar with this project?
I know a minor.
It was in several previous packets with information.
Oh.
Dee did send it out after the last meeting.
Oh, that was it. I knew it was something.
Okay. Well, it's one thing that I'm impressed by. First of all, I want to say it's a public-private sector partnership to get to kind of increase literacy for kids in need. You'll see that it's the partners are, and this is from the website, the Digital Public Library of America, New York Public Library, a group called First Book, which is a literacy organization, Baker and Taylor, who are our friends who support eRead Illinois, who by support provide us with a platform for eRead Illinois, and IMLS and Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And what it does is it's a program that's an open ebooks to put ebooks in the hands of kids, agencies. What the key is wherever those folks are located, an agency near them has to report 70% poverty in their community. A big thing I want to say about this is this program is not designed to replace libraries in any way. It's designed to supplement access to bring reading home. As an aside, and I think this relates, I'm glad Dee's not here because she'd be cutting me off left and right, I went to a presentation that Demco did, and similar to food deserts where people don't have access to fresh foods and grocery stores in their area, they've done some research in both Wisconsin and now they're working with Rockford Public Library on literacy deserts. Kids and communities that don't have access to either bookstores or libraries in their community, and correlating that with the rate of poverty in that community. And I think a project like this is an opportunity to increase that literacy and even promote family literacy in the community. I've been talking to I work with DPLA on some other projects. They have about 6,000 books in the collection, and who selects them is there's a curation core, and applications for that second round of the curation core are due April 1st, which is Kendall's birthday, just FYI. So library folks can apply to be a part of that curation core and select books for this project. I happen to have been around. Now, one of the unique things about this, for those of you who don't use ebooks regularly, in terms of how libraries access,
I don't know.
Is that for me, 17 minutes?
No, you have less than 17.
I need more.
You have like less than 5, dear.
Oh. So it's interesting, and what has been a very innovative thing is typically with ebook access for libraries, it's one book, one user. So that's the issue with purchasing a lot of books. What this group has been able to do is to, with these publishers, negotiate simultaneous access for these books, so no kid is waiting for a book.
That is wonderful.
Isn't that great?
That's the biggest issue.
Access, e-readers for kids to read books on. There's two things. One is there's another program through First Book that gives kids access to devices that's in partnership with this program, because I've talked with Yes, exactly. I've talked with my contact at DPLA, Michelle Bickert, about this, their new ebook coordinator, is so that, the kids can get a device on their own. Secondly, for a lot of communities in need, and there's a recent Pew study about this, the most ready access to the internet is through the phone for a lot of communities in need. And obviously you can do e-reading on the phone. Let's see, one other thing, there's New York Public Library's involvement is the app, open ebook software, that the app is how they use it, is the same software for a product called Simply E. And I mean, it's similar, it's built up with the same, it's built out similarly, and they developed both. And that Simply E software is, is a way in which a library could access multiple ebook platforms at the same time. It was called Library Simplified. Originally, they found out they couldn't copyright that, so they changed it. So It's now simply E. Hopefully, Rails will have an opportunity to be one of the test sites for that because they want to test it in consortial settings. Their NYPL and Minitex have, which is a Minnesota consortium, have submitted a grant for that, in which we said we'd be a test site for it.
Cool.
Does anyone, and one other thing I want to say before my 5 minutes is up, ladies, is, we've been talking a lot about this on, Dee and I co-chair the consortial ebook interest group for ASCLA, part of ALA. And, there's been a lot of discussion around this project, as there should be. But I'm really impressed with it being an innovative way. I think Rails and just the library and community in general needs to be open to innovation and trying out these new models, similar to what the private sector would do to reach their customers in different ways. And that kind of change and kind of flexibility to try new models hasn't always been our strength in the library industry. So I'm really impressed with, so this is an opportunity for us to kind of exercise some flexibility muscles and innovation to get ebooks in the hands of kids. I tried to find out how many Illinois folks had applied for this, but within the first week of it being open, the applications, they received over 1 million applications.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't hear back. First book is managing the application process, and I was put in contact with that person, but she's a little busy.
You might be better to put them on DO and just ask who will apply for this. You probably get a better
Yeah, I put it on Islama. I
Yeah.
put it on the Islama list too, and said, "Hey, was anybody involved with this?" I think, and we put this on the Islama list as well. But they were already talking about
Oh
it
yeah,
before I said
they
it. So.
they were all over it. Because
I
in
know,
fact,
I
I
love
saw it there before I saw it anywhere else.
Yeah, I know. I was
it's great.
I was psyched.
So I'm curious, there's all the studies that report that having books in the home increases, children's chances of success and even if they're not, sitting down and reading with them. I'm curious if there is a data component with this.
Really? You're curious about
I
that?
am curious.
So surprised.
And would also like to point out that Simply E is also a former R&B and hip hop singer-songwriter. I knew that. But Wikipedia told me. But I was looking because I wanted to look it up. But I am curious if there is going to be a component.
Simply, that rapper actually developed this software. He's in NYPL now.
Is he?
Erica. Her name is Erica. So, but is there going to be a component to kind of gauge?
I can find out. I'm not aware
because
of
that would be more of a long-term trend.
Longitudinal,
with it.
yeah.
But I feel like it would be an interesting comparison, considering the Pew studies that have come out, kind of saying like that print books are, people retain more, which I feel like people sometimes have been using to say that means ebooks are completely irrelevant. But I think that if it's a choice between print books and ebooks or ebooks and no books, there's a differentiation there, and it'd be interesting to see what the impact is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Generally speaking, with an IMLS, anything IMLS funded, there's obviously a huge evaluation component. I can talk to them about that and report back. I know that they are so in motion with this. I happen to be with someone when they were on some of these negotiation calls with publishers. We just happened to be, I thought I was going to have another meeting with her, but then she got this call, and so I just sat there and listened. But it's been really intense to get up to this point. So
and obviously the focus needs to be getting the books into the kids' hands first and
but to
foremost.
look at impact
Absolutely.
is really, to look at impact is really critical.
I'm sure that'll be one of the things that goes forward.
Yeah, they don't even at this point have an advisory group for this yet.
Okay, we will move down to 10.2 in your packets for your review. Our IMRF Fund Act and the Public Officer Prohibited Activities Act for your review. Then we'll move down to number 11. Does anyone have? Well, no, it says to review, please review the memos, and if you have questions, please let Dee or I know, and we'll do what we can to answer questions or find the people to answer the questions. Does anyone have anything to share about their libraries?
I just wanted to mention one thing, which is that April 2nd is World Autism Day. And so Awareness Day, Anne had already mentioned the Targeting Autism grant, and actually one of my staff was at it, and I can attest that she came back very excited and thought it was phenomenal. And we're already doing a fair amount, but are excited to be expanding and looking for new ways to serve that community. And so one of the things that we did last year and are doing again this year is our Light It Up Blue campaign, where we'll be lighting the building blue. It's a Saturday this year. And so in the evening, the library will be lit blue, and then internally we have a number of displays and information as just to raise awareness, not only for people in the community who might not be aware about autism, but also to show our support and to be more welcoming to people on the spectrum as well as their families. So we're very excited to be doing this. And our village hall next door is also doing it. So we're trying to expand out and hopefully eventually get even more people in the community lighting up their buildings and other things blue. So if you are in the Northbrook area on April 2nd, we are open from 9 to 5, and then the building will actually be lit blue in the evening, so from like 5 to 10.
Cool. Thank you.
At Brookfield, I don't know how many of you are aware that getting ready to go for a referendum, as a village library, our debt is tied to the village debt. But with the help of Representative Mike Zalewski, a bill has been written, and it looks like April when we're all in Denver. Well, I mean, Kim will be in Denver, I'll be there, but not as a trustee. Anyway, so it looks like they're going to be bringing it forth. It was wrapped up in another bill, and so our board president and vice president are going down to talk about it. And, yeah, so they're going down to Springfield. So,
So this would be to separate out for libraries to be able to, or the villages to allow those to be separated out so that people won't see it as a full debt for the village.
correct, because the village has their debt ceiling, and they don't want us, affecting theirs. Yeah.
I do think villages would be all for that. That they wouldn't want to add it to their debt ceiling.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So
that might get passed because of that. Great.
Yeah, good luck.
Yay, we're excited.
Great. I'd love to see some positive legislation that affects us in good ways.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move down to number 12, agenda building for the next RAILS board meeting. We will have the policies back on the agenda. Is there anything else that we need? And D's evaluation, those 4 things will be back on the agenda.
Will we be starting to talk about the plan of service for the next fiscal year?
Yes, I'm sure they're already working on it for the 2017.
Wait, so are we?
Anne?
Yes?
In terms of the next plan of service?
For 2017?
FY18?
FY17.
FY17. 17, right, is next year.
Yes,
Is
and
that-
our promise was to have the instructions to you by mid-April.
Okay.
Yep. So we're
All right.
on track with that. You don't have them yet, but we are good for our word.
Okay, great.
And our April meeting, we're going to be networking in East Peoria.
Yes.
In the morning.
East Peoria in the morning, we'll have the policy meeting, and then we'll have the networking lunch, and then we'll have the board meeting. And if you have any questions about our trip to Peoria, or to East Peoria, please let Emily know, and she'll take care of making sure we're all set up, I am positive.
We're starting at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, the policy meeting.
You'll let us know.
Well-
I'm just marking my calendar.
Yes. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no other business.
So moved.
And we need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We'll see all of you in April.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.